Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something that I think is incredibly relevant for all of us. What it truly means to be compassionate. It's a word we hear a lot, but what does it look like in real life? Is it just feeling sorry for someone? Or is it something more? We're going to explore this through two powerful stories about Jesus, stories that show compassion isn't just a feeling, it's an action. Let's start by setting the scene. Imagine living in a world where if you got a certain kind of skin disease, you weren't just sick, you were an outcast. This was the reality for people with leprosy in ancient times. They were considered unclean, not just physically, but ceremonially. This meant they had to live outside the city walls, away from their families, their friends, their entire community. If they had to approach a town, they were required to shout, "Unclean, unclean," to warn people away. Imagine the profound loneliness, the emotional and social isolation on top of the physical suffering. They were ghosts in their own society. This is where we meet our first character in the book of Matthew, chapter 8. A large crowd is following Jesus as he comes down from a mountainside. Suddenly, a man with leprosy approaches him. Now, this was a huge risk. For him to come near anyone, let alone a respected teacher like Jesus, was a massive breach of social and religious law. He could have been stoned for it, but he was desperate. He kneels before Jesus and says something really interesting. He doesn't say, "If you are willing, you can ask God to heal me." He says, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." He had absolute faith in Jesus' power. The only question in his mind was Jesus' willingness. Think about that for a moment. This man, who had been rejected by everyone, who was used to people backing away from him in fear, places his last hope in this one question. Are you willing? And what does Jesus do? He doesn't just say a prayer from a distance. He doesn't just shout a command. The Bible says Jesus reached out his hand and touched him. Let that sink in. He touched the untouchable. This was a radical, shocking act. By law, touching someone with leprosy would make Jesus himself ceremonially unclean. But in that moment, Jesus' compassion overruled the law. That touch was more than just skin on skin. It was a bridge across a chasm of loneliness. It said, "I see you. You are not just your disease. You are a person worthy of connection." And then Jesus says, "I am willing. Be clean." Instantly, the man was healed. The disease was gone. But Jesus wasn't finished. He tells the man to go show himself to the priest and offer the sacrifices that the law of Moses commanded. Why? This wasn't just about a physical cure. Jesus was restoring him completely. By following the proper procedure, the man would be officially declared clean, allowing him to legally and socially re-enter the community. He would get his life back, his family, his home. Jesus' compassion was holistic. It addressed the physical, the emotional, and the social devastation the man had endured. He didn't just heal his skin, he healed his life. This is compassion in action. It's stepping in, getting involved, and doing what's necessary to bring about complete restoration. Now, let's jump to another story, this one from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17. Jesus is traveling along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he's about to enter a village, he's met by a group of 10 men who have leprosy. Because there are 10 of them, they keep their distance, as the law required. They don't approach Jesus one-on-one. Instead, they shout from afar, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." Their cry is one of shared misery. Jesus' response this time is different. He doesn't touch them. He doesn't immediately say, "You are healed." Instead, he calls back to them, "Go, show yourselves to the priests." Now, this was a test of faith. He was telling them to act as if they were already healed, even though they still had the disease. They had to start the journey to the temple, a journey that would be pointless if they weren't cured. What would you do? It would be so easy to think, well, let me wait until I see some improvement first. But these 10 men, they take Jesus at his word. They turn and start walking towards the temple, and the Bible says, as they went, they were cleansed. Their healing happened on the way. It happened when they put their faith into action. Can you imagine that moment? One of them looks at his hands and sees clean skin for the first time in years. He calls out to the others, and one by one they realize they've all been miraculously healed. The shouting, the joy, the sheer disbelief must have been incredible. They were free. But the story doesn't end there. This is where it gets really interesting and delivers a powerful lesson. Out of the 10 men who were healed, how many do you think came back to thank Jesus? Just one. And the Bible makes a point of telling us that this one man was a Samaritan. Now, why is that significant? Because Jews and Samaritans famously despised each other. They had deep-seated religious and cultural disagreements. For a Jewish person at the time, a Samaritan was just as much of an outcast as someone with leprosy. So, this man was a double outcast. He was a leper, and he was a Samaritan, yet he was the only one who, when he saw he was healed, came back. He didn't just continue on his way to the priest. His first priority was to return, throwing himself at Jesus' feet and thanking him profusely. Jesus asks a heart-wrenching question. Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner? Jesus healed 10, but only one returned to express gratitude. This one man didn't just receive a physical healing. He understood the source of his healing and responded with worship. And Jesus says to him, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you well." The original Greek word here for made you well can also mean saved you. It implies a deeper, more complete kind of wholeness. The other 9 were physically cured, but this man, through his gratitude, found a deeper spiritual restoration. So what can we take away from these 2 stories? Both show us that true compassion is not a passive emotion. It's not just feeling bad for someone from a safe distance. In the first story, compassion moved Jesus to break social norms, to touch the untouchable, and to ensure the man was fully restored to his community. It was hands-on, personal, and complete. In the second story, we see that compassion can also empower others to act in faith. But we also see a crucial second part of the equation, our response to compassion. The 9 who didn't return missed an opportunity for a deeper connection with the one who healed them. They got the gift, but forgot the giver. The one Samaritan, the ultimate outcast, models the perfect response: gratitude. He recognized that what he had received was more than just good luck. It was a profound act of mercy, and it demanded a response of thankfulness and worship. These stories challenge us to look at our own lives. When we see suffering, do we just feel sympathy, or are we moved to action? Do we reach out and touch the lonely and marginalized people in our own communities, maybe not literally, but through acts of kindness, inclusion, and support? And when we are on the receiving end of compassion, when we experience healing or receive a blessing, do we remember to turn back and say thank you? Gratitude completes the circle of compassion. It acknowledges the giver and deepens our own experience of grace. True compassion, as Jesus shows us, is active, it's restorative, and it's transformative. And when met with a grateful heart, it leads to a wholeness that goes far beyond the surface. It's a powerful lesson for how we should treat others and how we should respond when others treat us with kindness. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope this has given you something to think about. If you found this message meaningful, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. How can we put compassion into action in our world today? Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.